This fall, Seattle's own Fantagraphics Books released a stunning new graphic novel biography of the pioneering 17th century female painter Artemisia Gentileschi. At the same time, the Seattle Art Museum opened an exhibit that features Gentileschi's most famous painting, which depicts a woman decapitating a male oppressor. Well, here with me now is the 21st century woman at the center of this artistic maelstrom, cartoonist and biographer Gina Siciliano, the creator of I Know What I Am, The Life and Times of Artemisia Gentileschi. Well, hello, Gina. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, Artemisia Gentileschi. Who was this woman?
Well, Artemisia was a 17th century painter, an Italian painter. She was born in 1593. She started out her career in Rome and then spent some time in Florence, Venice, and spent the last part of her life in Naples. And she died around 1655 or so.
And how did she get started? I mean, it's a male-dominated, at that time, Italian Baroque painting in the 1600s. How did she kind of get a foothold?
She probably was trained by her father, whose name is Orazio Gentileschi. Her father was a follower of Caravaggio.
Right, right. Well, so one of her most famous works, the one currently on display at SAM, is kind of not necessarily the centerpiece of your book, but certainly in there, depicts the biblical story of this Judith, right, a Jewish heroine who is shown cutting off the head of a enemy warlord. So what is it about this painting and this painter that drew you to want to tell her story?
I think part of the reason it really stands out is just because it shows really like the logistics of what it would actually take to get that job done. It's pretty gruesome.
Brutal.
To me, it really showcases like Caravaggio's influence and just sort of the more naturalistic trend in painting that was kind of coming up in the early 1600s. And of course, it's like one of the most intense depictions of like organized female violence. The Judith painting has also gotten really famous recently, especially the version of it here at Seattle Art Museum, because it was painted around the same time that there was this enormous long rape trial. And Artemisia was sexually assaulted by one of her father's friends, Agostino Tassi. And her father brought the perpetrator to trial. And so there was this, in 1612, there's an 8-month-long rape trial. And that first Judith and Holofernes was painted around that same time. And so, of course, the question is, what is the relationship between what was happening in Artemisia's personal life and the painting?
Right.
So these are the questions that are coming up a lot with that specific painting. Is it a revenge painting? What does it have to do with the assault? Does it have to do with the assault? You know, and I spent 7 years researching Artemisia to do this book. And at the end of 7 years of research, the answers we really just don't know. But certainly we can guess, and certainly we can see that the painting definitely stands out. You know.
Yeah, it's so different from like Caravaggio's. It's
sure
she brings something to it.
Yeah,
and certainly you address that that he did not. I mean, his is great, but I mean, you know, she brings something personal. It seems.
Yeah, I mean, it seems.
Yeah, it seems
like it.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think Artemisia would think about Me Too right now?
You know, I can't really answer that at all. And I think part of that is because I've done, like, the main goal for my book was to put Artemisia in context. And a lot of, especially more feminist scholars have been criticized for kind of projecting their own ideas onto this historical figure. People in her time didn't necessarily know about the trial and what had happened to her. And I think that she mostly tried to keep that covered up. That wasn't something that dishonor was not something that you would ever promote in any form back then, and even now, you know. So I don't know, you know, that Artemisia would want to necessarily even go there.
Right, to put it out there.
Ever.
Right.
In her time.
Yeah. Is there, for you, a personal connection to Artemisia yourself from your own life experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
How would you describe that?
Sure, absolutely. And when I first saw the painting, I wondered, is this an image of a woman using art to kind of transcend her own experiences with trauma? Because certainly that's what I've done, and that's what I've used art for, of course, you know.
It resonates for you on a personal,
yeah, absolutely.
very much on a personal level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the book, as you said, is super well researched. Runs are, I think, 279 pages. Is that?
Yeah,
something
it's getting
like that?
close to 300.
And, and it's your graphic novel debut, is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've done a lot of like self-publishing and like some smaller stuff, but this is the first big one.
Right.
Yeah.
So you jumped into the deep end. Really, I mean, did you know what you were getting into to take on this?
Well, I broke it into 3 parts.
Yeah.
You know, I figured the first part will be about the first part of her life. The second part will be about the trial and the rape. And the third part will be, you know, the rest of her life. I thought, oh, it'll just be a year for each part.
Reality.
Yeah. And it just took a lot longer. You know, it just, again, like in order to like convincingly recreate Artemisia's world, it just required a lot of research.
So in telling the story, this is, I was very curious about this. How did you decide what to convey with words and what to convey with drawings?
It's just different for each page, you know, it's just different for each thing. You're considering the flow of the page, the flow of the narrative, the pacing of the book. You know, I thumbnail everything out incessantly first, and then I worked with my own editor a lot to kind of dial in the writing. And yeah, certainly seems like a wordy book, but I did make really specific decisions about what I was going to show and what I was going to tell. There's going to be those things where the drawings and the facial expressions and the drawings of the paintings, where all of that is really important. But then, you know, the text, and again, providing that historical context, you know, the narrative voice is also really important. So it just depends, you know, on what I'm dealing with in that page.
Right,
you know?
right. As I mentioned, Seattle Art Museum's exhibit, Flesh and Blood, which includes Artemisia's painting, it opened about the same time as your book being published.
Yeah.
Was that a coincidence?
Yes.
Really? That is incredible to me.
It really is. It really just is an incredible coincidence.
Yeah. And you've been involved with the museum. You've done panel discussions. You've talked about the painting, in front of the painting. How has that experience been for you?
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's been so great. What they've been doing for some shows is they have like a little education wing, like within the gallery show. And so they've been asking more contemporary artists to kind of add some art in these little education spaces to kind of help people connect with the shows, and especially shows that are a little less accessible, like the Italian Renaissance.
Yes, right. Well, thanks so much for talking to us about the book. I Know What I Am, The Life and Times of Artemisia Gentileschi is available through Fantagraphics Books. Also, Seattle Art Museum's Flesh and Blood exhibit runs now through January 26th, and Gina's book is available in Sam's gift shop. And I understand that this is they have to do another run on this because they sold out the first run, right?
Yeah.
Fantagraphics did.
Yep, working on the second printing.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Gina.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.